Today we're taking a look at a movie called Slithis.
Slithis.
What did I say?
Slithis.
Oh, it didn't sound like that to me, but okay, well, I'll start over. Today we're taking a look at a movie called Slithis.
Slithis.
That's what I said. Slithis.
See, the Slithis.
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 It sounds like we're saying the same thing to me. Slithis.
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 The Slithis.
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 You know what? Let's just move on, okay? Okay. Today we'll be taking a look at a movie called Slithis. Slithis came out on...
Slithis.
Son of a bitch! Hey, what's going on everyone? Welcome to VHS on Tape. My name is Keith, and on this channel I do movie reviews for horror movies that came out in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. If that sounds like something that you'd enjoy, hit that subscribe button. Also, click the bell icon, that way you'll be notified when I upload a new video. Slithis, or Spawn of Slithis, came out on July 21st, 1978, and comes in at 1 hour and 26 minutes. It was written and directed by Steven Traxler. This movie had an extremely low budget, estimated around 100 grand. The tagline was, "Hell hath no fury, like Slithis." Or more accurately, "Finally, nature unleashes its revenge. From the pollution of our nuclear waste came the killer we couldn't destroy. Hell hath no fury, like Slithis." Whew, it's a mouthful. Now, the people who went to see this movie when it came out in the theaters were actually given a survival kit. The kit was so important that they wouldn't actually admit you to the theater without it. Sounds pretty intense. There must be some really good stuff in there, right? Well, the kit was actually a 4-page booklet. Page 1 had a picture of Slithis. Page 2 had instructions to first cut out the picture of Slithis. Next, keep that picture on you at all times. Then, when sleeping, you were to put the picture underneath your pillow. And lastly, join the Slithis fan club. Page 3 had a fan club membership application, and page 4 gave you the chance to get a Slithis picture for $1. I'll give it to them. That is an amusing marketing idea. Now, the plot for this movie is actually pretty simple. As a result of radioactive leakage, a water monster terrorizes Venice, California, looking for food in and out of the city's canals. The movie starts off with 2 kids playing frisbee, and for some unknown reason, they decided to go with a slow-mo shot of this. I really can't imagine why, because it's just not that interesting. But pacing is a big problem with this movie. Next, the 2 kids find mutilated dogs, which apparently, according to the radio, has been happening more and more recently, to which the police suspect is some sort of cult. Next, we meet Wayne, played by Alan Blanchard, a high school journalism teacher who probably isn't that great at his job.
Which is just another reason why I'm getting more turned off to teaching every day.
And his girlfriend Jeff,
My name is Jeff.
played by Judy Matulski. Then we get our first glimpse of the monster, played by Wynn Condict, when he breaks into a house that only had the screen door closed, mind you, not much of a break-in, and kills the couple living there. Wayne hears about this and decides to investigate by breaking into an active crime scene. But to be fair, there probably should have been some sort of crime tape or something up indicating that a grisly murder took place there. A cop shows up, but don't worry, Wayne gets out of being arrested by giving him a throat lozenge. Yeah. And then Wayne leaves, but not before stealing some evidence. That's a good example of this movie. Slow. Then we meet Dr. John, played by J.C. Clare, who you might recognize from nothing. Now, every time someone talks directly to Dr. John, they refer to him as Dr. John. And I can't help but picture a backstory where he got his doctorate and his friends just kept calling him John. Now, this frustrated him because he worked too damn hard and sacrificed too much. Like his wife Sarah, who left him because he cared about that damn doctorate more than he did their marriage. Now, people weren't giving him the respect that he deserved by just calling him John. But he figured, he would let them get used to calling him Dr. John on their own time. Well, years went by, and he started drinking heavily because everyone was still just calling him John. Then one day, he snapped. He told them if they didn't start calling him Dr. John, then he was just going to go and end it all. Now, they've been through a lot together, especially him and Wayne and that thing with his mom. So they have a lot of history together. They told him that they hadn't realized how important it was to him that they call him Dr. John, and from that moment forward, they would call him Dr. John. John tests the evidence that Wayne stole and finds that it has small levels of radiation in it. And that's when we get the movie's titular line.
I wasn't aware there was a titular line in that movie.
Yeah, this movie actually mentions Slithis 15 times, just in case you forgot what movie you were watching. And at this point, Jeff tells Wayne that he should just walk away, but if he doesn't, that he shouldn't talk about it in front of her. But from that point on, she's involved with pretty much almost every aspect of investigating and catching the Slithis or the monster. It's like Traxler forgot that he wrote that dialogue into the movie. We then get another glimpse of Slithis or the monster after meeting these two bums. And they actually do a cool transition here. The monster disappears, but then a woman screams. It then cuts to a police car with a siren going, and the scream and the siren are the same pitch, so it's actually a pretty smooth transition. I did like that. Wayne then decides to go undercover. Why? I have no idea. I mean, he's not a cop. And proceeds to spend the next 3 minutes tracking down one of those bums to see if he saw anything. And this could have been cut way down. Like, quite a bit of this movie is just filler. Then Wayne hires a diver to get soil samples near the power plant, and we meet Chris. Now, the attempt to have him be kind of like the funny sidekick, but it doesn't really work in this movie. Next, Wayne figures if they can illegally shut off the water to the canals, it could force the creature out to sea and problem solved. But instead, it introduces us to this. Now, I don't think I've ever seen turtle racing in another movie, so there's that. Then we meet this guy, who is pretty entertaining, but also a creeper.
I guess you're old enough to party. You look younger.
Oh, would it make a difference if I were?
Not really.
Now, if you look past that part, he's actually one of my favorite characters in this movie. He picked up this girl and takes her back to his boat that he's living on. And I think it's a pretty nice touch to have a framed picture of himself on the table. Kind of lets you know what you need to know. They then move into the bedroom, but before anything can happen, the creature shows up and kills him pretty quickly, and unconvincingly. But then very slowly kills her. They use a slow-mo shot again, and her death scene goes on for literally an entire minute. And it's not even done well either. And despite the fact that this movie is PG, you do get some nudity here. I mean, you gotta love the PG ratings for some of the 70s and into 80s movies. And she would probably still be alive if she would follow my one simple rule. Never trust a guy wearing a pinky ring. And he's wearing two! I mean, if the monster didn't kill her, he probably would have. After this, we get treated to some superb overacting by High Pike as the police lieutenant. Now, rumor has it that it's this performance by Pike that inspired Nick Cage to get into acting.
It's against the law to tamper with those locks. You should have been arrested.
See, and this is a good example of what happens when you cut funding to the arts. You get a high school drama teacher on the police force. And amazingly enough, even with this on his acting reel, Pike was actually still able to land a small part as Taffy Lewis in Blade Runner. Next, Wayne, Jeff, Dr. John, and Chris devise a plan to catch the creature, all while taking a day trip around the city. Because this background is what might bore the audience, not the dialogue. Then Chris and Wayne are on the boat tracking the creature with these two poor bastards. and Jeff and Dr. John are on land trying to direct it when this happens. Eventually, the creature makes its way to the boat and attacks Wayne and Chris before they discover its one fatal weakness, a boat anchor to the chest, in a very Cape Fear-esque shot. Now, on one hand, good for them for trying something different with this scene. But on the other hand, what the hell? Then they decide instead of bringing back the body, so there could be evidence, that they should just dump it overboard. The end. Oh, and I almost forgot. At its core, Slithis is a story about friendship and making your way through all the different ups and downs life throws at you. You know, I mean, the characters in this movie give us the high school stereotypes that we are so used to seeing. We have the brainiac, the prom queen, the dreamer, the jock, the heartthrob, and the loner. Though they may have their differences, in the end, they end up becoming friends. And now time for some fun facts. They shot this movie in only 12 days. Wynn Condict had to be sewn into the monster costume each day because it didn't have any buttons or zippers. Jellyfish have been around for more than 500 million years. Jelly beans, on the other hand, have only been around since about 1861. So would I recommend watching Slithis?
Man, no way.
I personally think it's just way too slow and drawn out to want to watch. It's like Roger Ebert said when he reviewed this movie back in '78. This movie talks itself to death. It would be different if there was some sort of payoff for actually sitting through this, but there just isn't. I mean, the creature and its attacks are just not entertaining and lackluster, and the acting is mostly bad. I think it's just too boring of a movie to even consider it as one of those so bad it's good movies. Now, the only reason I could suggest watching this movie would be if you wanted to play a drinking game, where you took a shot every time a scene felt like it was dragging on for too long, or every time they said Slithis. But just be prepared to get wasted. If you do want to check this out for some reason, you can watch it for free on Tubi TV, at least at the time of this recording. I'll put a link in the description. What do you guys think? Have you seen Slithis? Did you like it? In my last video, I reviewed Phantasm, and I'll put a link to that just in case you want to check that out. Well, that's going to do it for this one. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.